Hello, everybody. Great to have you on board with us at TechSparks 2021. And welcome to this session where we're going to be talking about PropTech and all that it entails. So to begin with, what really is PropTech? Now, property technology, popularly known as PropTech or real estate technology, is the application of information technology and platform economics to real estate markets, as simple as that. But the proper application of real estate technology strives towards reducing paperwork while making transactions quicker, efficient, and secure. Now, PropTech, as we know, is a fast emerging space, and Square Yards is one of the few Indian startups that deals in this area. In fact, Square Yards is one of India's largest integrated platforms for real estate and mortgages, with an expanding presence in the UAE, rest of the Middle East, Australia, as well as Canada. The company is ensuring an integrated consumer experience that covers the wide spectrum of the real estate journey by integrating buyers to an extensive network of partner real estate developers, agents, banks, and NBFCs. So with that said, to better understand how PropTech is revamping the future of the real estate industry, we have with us on TechSparks today, Tanuj Shori, the CEO of Square Yards. Welcome, Tanuj. Great to host you here.
Thanks, Shivani. Thanks for having me here.
Sure, Tanuj, let's get straight to it. We haven't really seen too many companies from the PropTech sector in India just as yet. It is, of course, a fast emerging space, but they haven't really scaled up to their potential. So let's initially start off with the challenges and opportunities in this sector. And how have you really done things differently at Square Yards to be able to build and scale?
We're still a work in progress as well. So if you look at the space, PropTech is probably one of the last remaining bastions, if we call it, where the technology is yet to disrupt meaningfully. Part and parcels have happened, but it's a very archaic asset class, a lot of traditional processes, silos way of working in terms of how various stakeholders deal with each other. Just the sector itself is very unregulated, is very fragmented. So think of real estate as probably where equities or insurance was in late 90s. And then you add the function that the technology is a very, very recent phenomena in terms of disrupting the value chain. It's a perfect storm. And that's been one of the reasons why you haven't seen very large scaled up ecosystem players. In India, has been very, very specific to India. You go back to other parts of the world, like for example, US, you have a new PropTech player pretty much every single day, a new company being founded every single day. There are probably 500 plus ecosystem participants. Not very different in China, and to a significant and similar in Australia or UK. India is probably 10 years behind them, but disrupting fairly fast. I think COVID accelerated all that. Part moved to technology, part moved to digitization of pieces of the value chain. And we are playing our part in that. To your answer, or to your question of what we have done differently, actually, we get asked this question. Probably this is the most I've answered this question in our lives. We believe, Shivani, since the entire space is so complicated and you need the perfect and the right amount of intervention from the technology side, but parallelly at the same time, you need a sizable, scalable offline distribution ability to run the value chain. It's practically building two different ecosystems at one time. And part of the reason we have been able to do that is amazing team of and a large team of co-founders. So I think not many startups in India could claim close to 17 co-founders, which we have. And what that implies is we had someone for part of the core group trying to crack piece of the problem, which in isolation is pretty much an organizational opportunity. And that has allowed us to keep at it, probably build the digital DNA, build the physical DNA, try and marry them both in the perfect possible way. But like I said earlier, it's still a work in progress. We still believe we are day zero. We have not even scratched the surface in terms of how the opportunity needs to be cracked.
Sure, Tanuj, point taken, and the way you put it, saying that the Indian real estate market is still nascent when it comes to the adoption of technology, but the digital transformation that we've seen over the past 18 months, thanks to the pandemic playing a catalyst role on that front, has sort of made the consumer ready for it. So give us a sense of how you really view the PropTech industry landscape in India and globally. You sort of spoke a little bit about that, but is the consumer really ready? And how are you really stacking up against the other classified PropTech players. You do have some competition coming in, from the likes of probably a Magic Bricks or a No Broker. How do they really sort of fit in the ecosystem, and what's the part that you're playing?
So Shivani, one of the earliest realizations we had, early days, but proving right, is that the consumer experience, the consumer journey is going to be probably the most differentiating factor. A, and B, how you marry the different parts of the value chain is going to become your critical moat of, or let's say the barrier of entry to the other market participants. So we have been the only player in India which started building the full stack ecosystem. So like for example, today a consumer comes to squareyards.com, searches for the property. This is effectively where we would compete with someone like a Magic or a 99. But then the journey continues on Square Yards. The consumer wants to buy a home. He would deal with our agents. This is where we'll compete with a lot of local offline property brokers, agencies. Once the consumer has finalized what he wants to buy, then the consumer would again speak to us only for the mortgage he wants to take. And therein we'll be competing with the likes of Paisa, for example, or Andromeda, digital as well as the physical players. Once the consumer has done everything, moving into the property, he needs furnishing done. And again, that is where Square Yards steps in, a subsidiary brand of Square Yards interior company, which in silos again is competing with a lift space or a home lane or a design cafe. And then moving on to the property management. So effectively what we're saying, the consumer, the end-to-end journey of the consumer across 4 years, 5 years of when he wants to own a home till he owns a home, till he manages the home, is handled under a single ecosystem. And that significantly we believe is disruptive in terms of the experience we provide. Not just the experience in terms of the monetization opportunities for the business, in terms of synergies we can drive from one segment to another. And we believe the PropTech, not just in India, PropTech globally is going in that direction. So you have seen players, the largest classified in US, moving to transactions, building mortgages, building end-to-end experience. You saw the largest agency in China moving upstream, building search and discovery, building mortgages. You can still count on your fingers, probably 10 at maximum globally, who are trying to build an ecosystem stories, but ecosystem stories are proving to be very, very disruptive.
Sure, Tanuj, you of course pointed out how you are looking at giving that full stack 360-degree experience to the consumer. So that's really great, because now the services and offerings that we have are sort of fragmented across many players. So that's great that you eventually want to make it a one-stop destination, so to speak. So from what we've understood, you ventured into multiple verticals. You have mortgages, property management, interiors, and what are your thoughts really on full stack versus single category approach? If you can tell us how you really plan to bring all of these services together in an integrated fashion.
So how we think about, Shivani, and it again reflects on my first answer about having this great team of co-founders who are building different organizations in themselves. We think of each category as a separate organization with a separate management team, trying to build a category leadership organization there. So like, for example, when we think about mortgages, we don't think about mortgages as a support ecosystem, as an ancillary services to a real estate. We think about mortgages day in and day out in terms of how we can build the largest digital marketplace in India, which is what we have been able to do. So this year, we are on track to clock close to $1 billion transaction value in mortgages, which makes us larger than any other ecosystem part, solo category players you would have heard of. Similarly, when we talk about interiors, so new business for us, but we think about that business day in and day out as in how can we become the category leader in this business. So that is the job of all these brilliant CBOs and co-founders and who have been responsible for the traction we have had. And my job effectively at the end of the day comes in ensuring all these engines run in the same direction. How do we drive synergies from one segment to another? How do we build up a multi-layer team to be able to provide a seamless consumer experience when he's switching from one organization to another organization to the third organization? Specifically answer your question, we believe that specifically for real estate, because it's such a complicated, high involvement asset class, that the full stack ecosystem wins over a single category play.
Sure, Tanuj, interesting to know that, there are so many sort of verticals and facets to it, and there is a lot of, market opportunity as well. But if you can give us further statistics and delve deeper into what kind of potential there is really, let's talk about the current state of the real estate sector. We've had COVID. Has it now become a buyer's market because, many flats and accommodations are lying empty in the city? What really is the word on the ground? How big is the market? And also from a Proptech standpoint, what is the size of opportunity that you are eyeing to crack?
So I'll take a step back there, Shivani, and we have always stated contrarian view, but we have always said that India is not a demand issue. India, right from the day one, has been a supply issue. I think all of us keep on hearing about a significant part of the inventory is still unsold in larger cities, so on and so forth. We believe a large chunk of that inventory should have never been built and should never be sold. That's wrongly priced, wrongly positioned, and does not give a fair indication of where Indian demand. So I'll throw some numbers. Pre-COVID, India used to do close to 30,000 new home transactions a month. Top 10 cities broadly. Now, just putting these numbers in perspective, US, being a developed economy, does 50,000 a month. China does close to 1 million a month. Indonesia, with 1/3 of the population and very similar urbanization as India, does probably 1.5 times, 2 times more than India. Manila as a city, just as a single city, used to do 7,000 to 8,000 transactions a month. So when we talk about the Indian populace, low home ownership, so on and all these factors combined, the 30,000 is a very, very ridiculously low number in terms of penetration of home sales. And you put that in perspective with the urbanization, like India sitting on 34-35% urbanization. It could move to 50, it could move to 60, it could move to 45, whether it take 10 years, 15 years, anybody's guess. But trajectory would be towards that 50% urbanization. And if people don't believe that will happen, in any case, the consumer tech ecosystem in India should not exist. But if we believe that's a base case scenario, India will go towards the 50% urbanization. Shivani, we are talking about 400 million people moving to cities. Assume a family of 4. India is going to need close to 80 to 100 million homes over the next 10, 15, 20 years. India doesn't even build 500,000 a year. So we are talking about an opportunity which is going to explode. We believe just the segment we play in, that current segment, without expanding into near markets, expanding into near geographies, should grow probably 20 to 50 times, anywhere in that range. I keep on telling my colleagues, we'll become 40 times larger by not doing anything, by ensuring we don't do anything stupid and stay alive. Our execution ability to show in how do we become 100 times larger rather than 30 times larger, which will be driven by the market. So a short answer is opportunity is humongous. I think we are not even sitting at the tip of an iceberg, and it is going to explode in the next 10, 15. That is anybody's guess, whether 5 years, 10 years, 15 years.
Sure, Tanuj, great insights there with all those numbers and the market opportunity and potential that you shared with us. And, a great way of looking at it as well, saying that I think it's more about making the market more organized and servicing the customer rather than just building more and more, that we're seeing this sort of, urbanization going beyond the borders of the cities into villages as well now in India. So the question of development really is questioned there. Now, coming more to what you are doing at Square Yards in terms of reports that we've seen, you have acquired 3 companies recently. What's your thought process here behind these acquisitions? How are you really seeing synergies with your acquisitions? And going forward as well, what other spaces are you looking at for inorganic expansion, so to speak?
So our thought process there starts from the fact that are there platform holes we need to fill in terms of capabilities? Then we go back to drawing board and figure out, do we have the capabilities ourselves to be able to do that quickly enough? If we don't, then we go and speak to smart young ecosystem players who have done that, who are starting to do that, probably have not scaled to a sizable extent. We spend enough time with them, but eventually we believe when you acquire anyone, you're effectively marrying that that team. You are effectively marrying that founder. So we spend enough time to date these people, and if we believe we can spend our life with them, we go ahead and bring them into the fold. Very strong word, acquisition. I think we call it more as a system integration, wherein these brilliant founders become part of our story, our vision, combined vision, and where everyone is working towards to ensuring the whole ecosystem grows. So in certain cases, like for example, rentals, data, VR, we met these people. We loved these folks in terms of what they were thinking about it, their capabilities, what they were building. We brought them in, integrated. They're practically as good as any of the other co-founders of Square Yards. In certain examples, like for example, home furnishing and interiors, we couldn't find enough people we could marry, so we built it ourselves. So the strategy is always coming from the perspective of filling the capability holes rather than acquiring startups for numbers.
Sure, Tanuj, and closing this discussion, you've shared, of course, a lot of insights there on how you are looking to provide that full stack experience for the consumers. But the other question arises about the entire startup economy as a whole. That is, of course, backed by tech, and we've seen a funding boom. And for a company your size, I see that you have raised some amount of capital, but you are looking at a huge potential and expansion going forward. So what are your fundraising plans? There is a lot of talk of IPOs when it comes to the startup ecosystem. Are you going to sort of take that path?
Never say never. So coming from an equity background, spent 10 years in public equity markets before I founded Square Yards. We realized the importance of equity. We believe equity is the most expensive thing in the world. So right from the day one, we have been very, very frugal in terms of how much we want to raise, from whom we want to raise, when we want to raise. And we have never raised more capital than we need. We have always been very, very, despite whatever everyone tells that raise the capital when available, we don't believe in that. We believe the capital will always be available if you're building a good company. And if you're not building a good company, capital alone will not be a differentiator for you to succeed. But if you're building a good company, there will always be capital. And that has proven true. So just to give you a number again, we are one of the very few rare late stage startup stories where more than 50% is still owned by founders and the management and employees put together. And we continue. So irrespective of whatever valuations and the funding booms we are hearing over the last few months, we continue to stick to what we believe in, that we have been profitable. We have hardly any cash burn on the books. We are scaling up nicely. If you don't need 200 million, we won't need raise 200 million, as simple as that. So whether IPO at some stage makes sense, yes, we do believe that going public is a final testament of how good a story you have built. Whether that happens in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, I think probably will be a function of where we see ourselves operationally. Have we ticked those benchmarks? So when we talk about the next stage of expansion, we think about operational benchmarks, not financial benchmarks. Have we ticked the boxes we needed to, we wanted to? And if we have, probably a good time to raise the growth capital.
Great, Tanuj. On that note, wish you more success going into the future. And thank you so much for sharing your insights on how you are really going about revamping the future of the real estate industry. For our viewers, Square Yards, of course, is a company which will connect you to real estate, developers, so you can buy property, rent property, as well as also look at Square Yards for taking and applying for a loan and getting your interiors done. A full stack approach is what they are catering to. So thank you so much, Tanuj, for your time again. To all our viewers, stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Shivani. Thanks, Your Story team. Take care.
Lenovo TrueScale. Everything as a service. For the first time, you can plan, procure, and manage your entire IT environment from a single source. Secure on-premise deployment with cloud-like on-demand consumption. Simple, manageable, predictable, scalable. TrueScale builds on Lenovo's global reach and powerful collaborations. It delivers the complete suite of IT solutions. From the pocket, to the smart device, to the edge, to the core, to the cloud, to your data center. Lenovo TrueScale. IT that scales as it drives your business growth. Everything as a service. And we mean everything.